Well, the United States has finally reacted to India's deal with Russia for the procurement of the 5 S-400 missile systems. The U.S. State Department spokesperson has told Wion that the United States continues to urge all of its allies to forego transactions with Russia that could invite sanctions. Now, referring to the Trump administration's recent sanctions on China, the State Department has said that sanction waivers are not country-specific. The U.S. State Department has said, and I quote, "There are strict criteria for considering a waiver. The waiver is narrow, intended to wean countries off Russian equipment and allow for things such as spare parts for previously purchased equipments." Now, the U.S. State Department's response, however, has failed to answer the much-discussed issue, whether the United States will indeed slap sanctions on India or will it give a waiver. The Section 231 of the CAATSA empowers the U.S. President to impose at least about 5 of the 12 listed sanctions in the Act on persons engaged in quote-unquote significant transactions with the Russian defense and intelligence sectors. Now, the action against China was the first instance of secondary sanctions that were imposed by the United States. The sanctions were imposed under the Combating America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, or what is known as CAATSA. The United States slapped the sanctions on China's Equipment Developer Department, or the EDD, for procuring defense equipment from Russia. The Trump administration has said that EDD was sanctioned for buying the Su-35 fighter jets and also the S-400 missile systems, which were delivered in December and January to China. Now, it's the very same S-400 missile systems that India has also purchased from Russia. However, experts indicate that when it comes to India, Donald Trump may grant a sanctions waiver. As per the procedure to grant the waiver, the President of the United States has to certify that the specified country is meeting the conditions required to grant a waiver. Last month, after the India-US 2+2 dialogue, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was asked as to what he thought about India's defense deals with Russia. Pompeo said, and I quote, "Our effort here is not to penalize great strategic partners like India. The sanctions aren't intended to adversely impact countries like India. They are intended to have an impact on the sanctioned country," unquote. Now, it is the very use of terms like strategic partner that also compels one to believe that the United States may not view India's S-400 purchase as something that needs to be penalized under CAATSA and needs to be treated with a yardstick that is different from that of China. However, it is not a secret that the United States has also been expressing its concerns over China's growing military prowess. It was in August this year that the Pentagon highlighted as to how China's military is likely to be training for strikes against the United States and its allies. Now, India, on the other hand, has quoted no such criticism from the United States. In fact, during the 2+2 meet, India has highlighted as to how it needs the advanced missile systems for its national security. Now, the United States is also likely to keep in mind that any sanctions on India will impact the United States strongly. Sanctions will not just dent the growing Indo-US ties, but will also harm the United States' image as India's reliable partner. Remember, the Trump administration has in fact been projecting India as a key player in its India-Pacific strategy. Now, in addition, the U.S. defense industry sees India as a major market. In the last 10 years, the United States has signed defense deals worth at least about $15 billion with India, and this includes the sale of the C-17 Globemasters, the C-130J transport planes, and there have also been deals for P-8 maritime reconnaissance aircrafts, the M777 lightweight howitzer guns, the Harpoon missiles, and also the Apache helicopters, to name just a few. Now, between 2013-14, the United States, in fact, won 13 contracts worth $4.4 billion, and according to experts, this value is only set to increase, given a possible deal for the Sea Guardian drones. India is also a big market for U.S. manufacturers such as the Lockheed Martin and Boeing. They are strong contenders for a number of arms deals, including the recent tenders for the multi-role helicopters and the multi-role carrier-borne fighters for the Indian Navy. Now, leaving the business aspect aside, if the U.S. sanctions India for its deal with Russia, the Trump administration will, quote, an impression of interfering with the sovereign country's right to secure its borders. So what exactly is the S-400 missile defense system? The S-400 air defense missile system has a target range of about 400 kilometers. It can hit 300 simultaneous targets, and also about 72 guided missiles can simultaneously be launched from the system. Now, the system has been operational since 2007 and China was its first purchaser. The S-400 missile system can prepare any military for defense against strategic aircrafts, electronic warfare planes, spy planes and even tactical aircrafts.